The honourable member for Lambton-Kent-Middlesex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's indeed an honor and pleasure for me today to stand in this great place and talk about a budget 2014 economic action plan. You know, Mr. Speaker, then when I joined and became a part of this House, times were good. And in those times, we took those good times and we took surpluses and paid down the debt. I come from a rural municipality called Lambton-Kent-Middlesex. My largest urban area is 14,000 people. The next one at the other end of the riding is somewhere around 12,500. Which means, Mr. Speaker, that in Lambton-Kent-Middlesex and in my riding, it's made up of small towns, small businesses, dominated by agriculture. One of the things that I know and that our businesses in the riding of Lambton-Kent-Middlesex is that when you have a small business, from time to time you go in debt. But also know that from experience, and I come from a small business, that when you have debt, you work and you build a business plan around so that actually once you have that deficit, then you pay that down so that you can get your debt under control, so that you have money left then to spend on your family, to grow your business, and to be part of the community. And so today, Mr. Speaker, it's again my pleasure to rise in this House to speak on Budget 2014 that takes those same principles that it was when I had the honor of being elected to this place in 2006. And now we're here in 2014, getting ourselves back to that position where we were in another year of having a surplus, having our deficit paid down. And it would come with great joy to mine and the business people and the community people and my families in my riding that when that time comes of a surplus that we will take some of that money and pay down our debt once again. So the Budget 2014 has many benefits for the people in Lambton-Kent-Middlesex. This year, and when you look at how business stands, then you look at how does a country stand. And this year, Canada went from 6th place to 2nd place in terms of having a ranking that says this is the 2nd best place in the world to do business. Now, that doesn't just happen because somebody says we got a good budget. It doesn't just happen because we have come out of this recession stronger than any others. It comes out because of determination. It comes out because we have a government that has a foresight and a focus and a goal ahead of us so that we can do an environment for businesses so that they will continue to grow, that they will sustain themselves. Mr. Speaker, it's not only important that we attract businesses into our communities and into our country. I believe it is just as important, if not as important, that we keep our businesses, that those businesses that are within our communities have that ability and have the financial goal and vision ahead of them, and that business plan and markets ahead of them so that they will stay, that they will grow. And I say that because when they stay and when they grow, in communities like mine, that means they are the employer. And employers hire people. And when we have strong and vibrant businesses within our community, that means jobs. And basically, when you look at Budget 2014 as it was in the Economic Action Plan of 2013 and 2012 and 2011 and 2010, and as we go on, it was about creating a strong, viable community and country with strong opportunities for our businesses and for our families. This is the 3rd consecutive year which we as a government will spend less of Canadians' money than we did the year before. As a result, this year's deficit will be less than last year's. The direct program spending has fallen for 3 consecutive years. for the first time in decades. And in 2012 and 13, it was over $5 billion lower than it was in 2009 and 10. Specifically, Action Plan 2014, Mr. Speaker, announced that the deficit is expected to decline to $2.9 billion in 2014 and 15. And then in 2015-16, as we have continually talked about through our Minister of Finance, by the way, recognized around the world as one of the most solid and recognized finance ministers there are, that we would now have a budget surplus of $6 billion in next year, 2015-16. And that would take in, as any budget does, you have to take in certain dollars for risk. I mean, a country like Canada is large and diverse, and areas where you have disasters, as we've noticed last year, you need to have a surplus or a adjustment for risk, and we've put in that for $3 billion. But I think, Mr. Speaker, the key issue, when I mention how we've been able to do that, it sort of runs contrary to the opinion on the other side, that we've been able to do it when you keep taxes low. So over the last 8 years, Mr. Speaker, not only have we kept taxes low, we've reduced them 160 times. That 160 times relates to a figure that, well, it puts Canada in the lowest tax regime that we've had in 50 years. Now, just out of curiosity, and I know the minister there is looking at me in astoundment, but that was actually at the time when Prime Minister Diefenbaker was the Prime Minister. And so we're back to that tradition of having those low taxes. In fact, as I mentioned in my riding of Lambton-Kent-Middlesex, it's a small businesses, agriculture. It's made up of middle-income families. I mean, that's the majority of our families. They're just hard-working people. They get up every day, they go to work, they pay their taxes, and they come home, they become part of their community, they get involved in their community. But we've been able to leave $3,400, that's $3,400 of money in their pockets that we've not collected. We didn't collect it and say, we're going to send you a check back. No, we just didn't collect it. I remember back when we were talking about removing the GST or lowering the GST. We didn't say we would remove it. That was the opposition party that said they were going to and never did. But we lowered it from 7% to 6% to 5%. And I remember at one of the debates I was at, the opposition were saying, you know, all that means is that you're going to save $1 or something on a pair of jeans, or you're going to save a few cents here if you buy a... I'll tell you what it means to my constituents in Lambton-Kent-Middlesex. 1% put $18 million back in the pockets of the people in Lambton-Kent-Middlesex. 2%, now I'm not a great mathematician, but 2% left $36 million. Just in that one move, by taking the GST and removing it from 7% to 6% to 5%. But also what we've been able to do is that we have particular interest within this budget of local municipalities in my riding. I've got a bit of a unique riding because I have one single tier, I've got 2 county ridings, and I've got 14 lower tier municipalities. And I was privileged and honored for a number of years to have been the mayor of Middlesex Centre and of Lobo Township before that. But in that, $21.8 billion in gas tax refund that goes back, that's what, plus it's now being indexed, which means it's $1.8 billion in terms of payments for municipalities. That is secure funding that they have for their municipalities for capital projects. Mr. Speaker, obviously 10 minutes isn't enough time, but I am going to wrap it up. I had a lot of things that I wanted to say, but one of the things I want to be able to talk about, we just made an announcement a week ago in London, just outside of my riding, but the impact affects ours. With the General Dynamics land system, multi-billion-dollar announcement, the largest you built a program in Canada's history. Not in my riding, but I can tell you the small businesses in my riding now have that opportunity, and we're so excited to be at that. So because they know now that as a small business, they have the opportunity to compete and be there. So, Mr. Speaker, our commitments to Canada's economy and prosperity for the residents of Lambton-Kent-Middlesex is no different than across the riding, and will continue to work to balance this budget and to work strong for Canadians in Canada. Thank you very much.